Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm so excited with everyone joining us this morning for the upgrade technical services side of the new 1705 COHA. Very excited to show you some new enhancements, both on the visual and the usability side of COHA, and I hope you find some things that are going to work for your library really, really well. I did want to do a little housekeeping about Zoom. There are two ways to communicate to myself or Margaret, who is also helping me today. So say hi to Margaret. There is the Q&A box. There is a Q&A box which is really helpful to us at Bywater when we do these webinars, because when you put your questions in the Q&A box, it comes over as a nice format so we can post those questions later. But you can also use the chat. If you use the webinar chat, that is fine. Please try to type your message to all attendees so the attendees can see the question as well as the answers. If you just post your question to just the panelists, the rest of our attendees wouldn't be able to see your question. I encourage you to ask questions. We're very excited for you guys to start using new 1705. And if I don't know the answer, which could happen, I will get back to you as soon as I can. And speaking of that, I did want to show you that with each webinar we are doing, we are posting them on our website, in addition to any questions and the answers that we have for all the great questions you guys have during our webinars. So I'll show you that in 1 second. As you can see on our COHA, our Bywater website, we have our COHA 1705 upgrade webinar schedule. And today we just have our first technical services webinar, but we are having a second one on Halloween, October 31st. We had our What's New webinar, which was a big overview of 1705. That is recorded and on our website. We have had our OPAC and circulation webinar, but there is a second one in the week of November, the first week of November. And then we are also having 2 in our administration and reports upgrade. So we have all these webinars that you have the ability to see, and also we will be recording those on our website, so you can watch those. If you don't have time to do it at the time that we have allocated, you can do it later at your own time. And it looks like Margaret has put that link in the chat box, so if you want to bookmark that, feel free. We're doing something a little different this year with our town hall sessions. We are going to have our 2 town hall sessions the end of November and mid-December. So we're going to give you the opportunity to play around with the new 1705 COHA before we start talking about it and how it's working for you. Prior to this, we've done our town hall sessions during the time we're doing our upgrade webinars, but we'd love for you to start using it and then come to us with your questions. We'd love to hear how to make it better for you, because we are part of a community. So your opinion matters. Now, I also wanted to show you the other link on our Bywater website. This is very, very important because there is a link to our COHA manual for 1705. So if you're like me, who has, I can't copy it, who has 1 million bookmarks, you can add this as a new bookmark or replace your 1611 manual, bookmark it on all your computers. So there's that link to the manual and the release notes if you want to go and look at all the other enhancements and bug fixes. There is a ton on that release notes, and there's the link. The education team has been, thank you, Margaret, she also put that in the chat. The education team has been super busy prior to these upgrade webinars to create some blog posts and videos on our bigger features. So you can see that there is about 9 here, and all these will either be a blog post or a video with steps that show you the functionality of the new features in Koha. So that's super exciting that if for some reason you missed it or there was just one feature in a specific module you wanted to see, they're here. If you also have any ideas of what you also want to see on our videos, we love to make them, and we'd be happy to continuously help you get better at using Koha. So there you go. Now, right now, there is just one recorded webinar session. That's our What's New webinar session. I hope that we can get this one as well as the ones earlier in the week to get on there by the end of today. So you can go ahead and watch those. We also, like I said earlier, have this Q&A from the upgrade webinars. So I'm going to try to open that. There we go. You see, there we go. It's being tricky. Maybe I won't open it. You can see any of the questions that we had during that 1 hour upgrade webinar would be listed on there. And as we populate more questions and answers, you will be able to see those. We do try to personally email anyone who's asked us that question specifically, but it's great to see what other libraries are thinking as they see these new features and enhancements. So feel free to go and explore this website. Then below, we have all the enhancements or features in each module published here. This number here is actually the bug number that's associated with the feature or enhancement that has come to 1705. So if you're interested in looking at the purpose or the reason why it came about or a little bit of the test plan, you can go ahead and look at any of these. Refresh and see if that helps. Oh, thanks, Joy. Okay. Without further ado, I'm just going to pop back over to my staff client to start showing you the 1705 upgrade webinars, but I have those links in the channel, the chat, for you to be able to use or bookmark. Okay, so we're going to go over to our main page of Koha. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to start in our acquisitions module. Oh, before I forget, I'm sure this is a burning question on everyone's mind. When are you going to be upgraded? Oh, I almost forgot. So upgrades to 1705 will begin November 2nd, so right around the corner. And this is going to continue throughout the month. All upgrades are going to start after 8 o'clock your local time. We are also going to populate in your news section. So here on the left side of your staff client, we will give you a little notice a week prior to your upgrade. So you will know when it's coming. Now, it's very important that you clear your browser's cache on that morning that you know that the upgrade had happened, and that is 8 p.m. your local time. Thank you, Victoria. So any computer that's using Koha, remember to clear your browser's cache before starting to use it. So you make sure that functionality is all there. Okay, so it's very exciting. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start in our acquisitions module. Now, this is a really, really fun enhancement that has been added. And this is a new system preference that will grab item information from your order files. This will make it so item data can now be at the record level, which has been previously in other Koha developments, but also the item level. So I'm going to go over to my Koha administration, and I'm going to go into my global system preferences. Now right here, I'm going to start right in acquisitions. Mark fields to order has always been a system preference for a while, and this allows you to set mapping values for things like price and quantity and budget code. With this new system preference in 1705, we have mark item fields to order, and I'm going to go ahead and click to edit, and it's going to populate. Yours will be blank on your side, but we have a tutorial set up already on this that Jessie goes through the more specifics, and you can look at what the fields that we've allocated and the subfields. we have used the 975 as the mapping values for the item records. So we have our home branch as 975A, our holding branch, the 975B. This allows you to add the item information on your MARC records in a staged file. So, for example, if you're using, if you're in a multi-branch system and you had items going to the main branch and the south branch, and you were getting those records from a vendor, you could designate those in those records before you get them. So that's really exciting for that multi-branch system. Now, if this is something that you are getting your vendor records from Baker and Taylor or Midwest Tape or Ingram or Brodart, you will have a second step in this process. Once you set these mapping values in your Koha system preference MARC item fields to order, you will need to go to your vendor website and identify these proper item fields in maybe what's called a MARC template or a grid, depending on how your vendor sets it, names it. I know with Baker and Taylor, it is a grid. And these fields need to be identified to the vendor. So once you've done it in Koha and set it up in your vendor, this will ensure when you do download these records from your vendor's website, they know you're using those 975 fields. Once you apply these rules in your vendor and download your order records, what that will do is add the 975 fields. So when you bring these item records using your staged MARC record to import, this will look at this system preference, MARC item fields to order, and your item records will be created in the system. This is a great feature for libraries that would like to add some item information to make it a more fluid transition from the vendor website to Koha. Great. Okay. We have another system, another enhancement in our acquisitions module. So I'm going to stay in acquisitions. And this is a little smaller than this last feature, but with Koha, you cannot delete vendors. So forever and ever, you'll have these vendors and you may not be using them anymore, but they'll still show up in your vendor search. Koha now has the ability to make a vendor inactive and also create it so you don't have to see those inactive vendors in your search. So here I am in the acquisitions main screen, and I'm just going to do a basic vendor search. And I can see here all my vendors listed. Now I have this Bear Pond Books, and this is a small mom and pop bookstore that unfortunately has been closed due to a large conglomerate, probably. I can go ahead and edit that vendor, and I can make this inactive. That's helpful. However, I'm going to still see it when I look at all my vendors. So I'm going to go back to my acquisitions and go ahead and search. And I'm going to be able to see Bear Pond Books still in my search. It does say it's inactive. But at the top of my search, I have this option to show active vendors only. So once I click that, I'm going to eliminate any vendors that are in my system but are no longer active in my system. Okay, I had a question and I would like to address it from Barbara, that she would like to know if in the MARC item fields to order, the manual also indicates the replacement price can be used in the 975V, and it works for me. Great. Thanks for letting us know, Barbara. We'll add that to our system preference too. The manual is really helpful in this. It's really well laid out, so I'm glad you're using it, Barbara. So you have this in your vendor search that you can go ahead and see all your vendors. If you did need to make something active again, you would want to be able to find that vendor, or you can just look at all your active vendors. So this is a new usability search for you. While I'm still in my vendor page, I view my vendors as like an electronic Rolodex. If I go ahead and click my Amazon, I can see, all the information that I've entered in here. But now a new enhancement with the 1705 is that I have this tab, this area called subscription details. Are a lot of you using the serials module in Koha? If you are, then great, thanks, Joe. If you are, then you know that in our serials module, you can link a subscription to a vendor. So now I have that ability to see how many subscriptions each one of my vendors has. I'm going to pop over to serials just to show you where you would see that, just to give you that cohesion to see where a vendor would link to a subscription. Just in case anyone's curious, I like to see the big picture. If I go over to my serials module, I'm going to go ahead and search. I know I don't have a lot of serials set up in here, so it's going to be a quick search. If I look at this Fine Gardening magazine, I can see here that my vendor is Ingram. And it's clickable. So I could go right to my Ingram vendor card and see that it also says that I have 2 subscriptions with Ingram here in my subscription detail. So this is a nice new enhancement. If you haven't been combining your subscriptions to your vendors and you find this enhancement really helpful, you can go ahead and edit any subscription here in the Edit tab. Once you edit the subscription, it allows you to attach a vendor to your subscription, and you can just go ahead and search for a vendor here. Great. Okay, we're still in acquisitions. This is great. I love the fact that there's so many enhancements in acquisitions because I know a lot of you use it. So we're trying to make things a lot easier and with more functionality because of what you guys tell us or tell Koha. So prior to a 1705 release, you could not have a fund of $0 in your budget and add an item to a basket and use that fund. Libraries were having to go ahead and put $1 in a fund so then they could go ahead and use that fund when creating a basket and adding orders to it. So now, as you can see, I have this children's magazine fund, and I have $0 in it. But with this new enhancement, I'm allowed and I have the capability of creating a basket and allocating something to that fund. So I'm going to go ahead and create a basket for you guys. I have a basket created called Children's Magazine, so I would remember. And I'm going to add something to that basket. Let's see. I already did rabbits today. Okay, so I have this item already in my catalog, but I'm going to go ahead and add another copy. And I am adding this item to the basket that I've created. And here's the item information. I'm just going to add item just so I can get that quantity to populate to 1. And now, once I select a fund prior to the 1705 release, Children's Magazine with $0 would not show up in this drop-down menu. With the 1705 release, I am allowed to and I can pick children's magazines. So whether I got a donation but I wanted to add it to a basket and keep track of it that way, I can do it. Or if I wanted to document something, so it had nothing to do with money, so the money was, it wasn't important, but I wanted to allocate it, I can now do that. So this functionality has really helped some libraries that wanted to go ahead and choose a fund that didn't have any money attached to it. So I'm just going to save, and now I have this basket for children's magazines. So that's a new little enhancement that will help some people. While I'm in this basket, there's another new little usability enhancement, and it makes everything look a little bit more clean. Sometimes a lot of the Koha community would like similarity between pages. So this is something they've added. You can see these buttons at the top. There was a button that was not like all the others. So I'll go ahead and show you that. If you have ever used the uncertain price in acquisitions, when you're adding an item to a basket, you can, in the accounting details, you can say that you're not sure of the price, and that's called uncertain price. Once I click the uncertain price, I can see that it's going to give me another option at the top of my acquisitions basket. So I have here the uncertain price. Prior to 1705, it looked a little different than all the other buttons. It was there, but it looked a little different. So now I have that uncertain price button. However, if you have something in your basket that is an uncertain price, you cannot close your basket. You have to make sure that all the prices are certain to Koha before you can close the basket. So while this uncertain price button popped up, so did my close the basket disappeared. So I'm going to go ahead and modify that back so you can see my uncertain price button go away, and then I have my close button to come back. And so now I have my close button and no more uncertain price. Okay, now I have another one in acquisitions. How many people use OPAC suggestions? Allow your patrons to order something, make a purchase suggestion via the OPAC. Great, thanks, Susan. Good. I love that. I love this feature. I love it. So when you're on the staff side, you have this suggestions pending approval link, and I could go right to that link. Prior to the 1705 release, none of this information on the left was available. It didn't allow you to toggle between anything else in acquisitions and that suggestion management. So now in the suggestion management page of Koha, you still have this side toolbar that allows you to go back to acquisitions or administration, because it kind of hovers between those two modules. These top four boxes were always there, but we're just allowing you to have that flexibility to kind of toggle between those. There was also that new enhancement if you were at the Circ and Patron. They did the same thing within the circulation module. Once you were in check-in, you then had that sidebar, which is really so helpful. So I love both of those enhancements from a workflow purpose. Okay, my last thing in acquisitions is this is huge. This is awesome in my opinion, because I think we've gotten a lot of tickets on this, so this is great. While we're in our main page of acquisitions, I can see all the funds and the fund names. I can see the dollar amounts I've ordered and I have spent. All these are clickable, which is great. Love it. However, prior to the 1705 release, if I clicked my ordered or my spent, I would just see the titles of what I ordered. Now, drum roll, once I hit the ordered, I can see the titles, but they're clickable. So I can go right to the staff side, the staff client, and see that item. That's huge. I know it doesn't seem big, but I think within acquisitions, that is a big deal. So now you have that ability to go ahead and pick anything that has been ordered or spent, and you can see the titles, and they're clickable. So exciting. I can feel the excitement. So those are the enhancements with our acquisitions module. I think a lot of them are going to help your workflow and your and just maybe your day-to-day life. I don't know. So now I have just a small one in our cataloging module. I think 1605 and 1611 had a ton of cataloging, so this one doesn't have a ton. And this is really just, this enhancement is for a visual for your OPAC. So prior to the 1705, if you looked at a subscription on your staff side, you would see the serial enumeration and the chronology. However, your patrons would not see that on the OPAC side. So now I can see this serial enumeration and chronology on both the staff side and in the OPAC. So I don't know if everyone knows this exists. I think this was a small little enhancement last 1605 maybe, that you have that ability to click right over to the OPAC in your staff side. If you haven't, stick around and I'll tell you how to turn that on. But I can go ahead and look at that in a new window, and it's going to bring me to the OPAC side and into that actual record. So I can actually see the volume information on the OPAC, as well as the volume information on that holdings tab, the subscription tab. So it's just a nice view for your patrons to see the same thing as you see on the staff side. Okay, great. Now, there is a new feature which is huge with lists, and I want to show you how to use this new functionality with list with something else that was probably talked about yesterday, but I'm going to show you again because I love it. If you use our search up at the top and use that item search, this item search has completely changed in 1705 because you can now take any of your searches and create what? A barcode file. Isn't that awesome? This is going to be really helpful for the new enhancement for lists. So if I wanted to look at everything, say in on this shelving location of, let's go to Vermont Books. And then I'm going to say I want it to go to a barcode file. You can see down here that I have a file that has been downloaded to my computer, and I can open it up, and it's exactly what I need for so many features in Koha, like batch item modification, batch item deletion. I have this barcode file that I could use for so many other tools, in addition to the list tool. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to capture a few of these barcodes to show you. I'm going to copy those. Now, if I go ahead and create a list in my Koha system, and I wanted to show my patrons all the items that I have in my Vermont collection, I can go ahead and create a new list. I'm going to do Vermont. Oops. I'm going to make this public so my patrons can see it on the OPAC, and I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Once I create this list, I have this sidebar, add items. Before the 1705 release, this is how big the box was. I could only scan one barcode at a time to add to a list. Well, guess what? You have this big box, and I could go ahead and just pop all those in to a list. I know. Give a hand up if you love that. It's just awesome. I love it. I think that this is, thanks, Beth. Oh, hey, Beth. Thanks, Linda. Yay, Susan. I know, I think maybe you're more excited about the item search to a barcode, but it's going to help your world in lists as well. So this is awesome. Now I've created a list with just one fell swoop of all the items in a shelving location and been able to share that with my patrons. So that's pretty cool. Okay, now I have two more enhancements in our notices. So I'm going to go over to Tools, and I want to point out, I hope you guys can see this very, very, very bottom of the screen. Try to move this a little bit. I don't know why you can see I have English and I have Espanol at the bottom. That means that I have a language pack installed on my Koha side, my staff side, which allows me to be able to see it in English or in Spanish. This new feature requires you to have a language pack installed in your staff side. If it's something that you would like to have and you've never known there was an ability or there's a new need for this, please let us know, submit a ticket. But this new enhancement allows you to have notices in another language sent to your patrons. And this goes with a system preference called Translate Notices. So I'll show you that one first, and then we'll come over to our notices and slips and see how it changes. So I'm in my global system preferences, and I'm going to write Translate Notices in there. By default, it will not be turned on. You can go ahead and click Allow, and that would allow notices to be translated. And then it says, if set, notices will be translatable from the Notices and Slips interface. So that's great. So our first step was get a language pack if you don't already have one and need one. Turn on your Translate Notices. Then we're going to go over to Tools. And the Notices and Slips is going to look a little different now because we've added this new Translate Notice System preference. So I'm going to go to one of my notices. I'm going to go to Overdue Billing. I'm going to go ahead and click Edit. So in addition to just a one tab of, I don't even think it said English, it might have just said defaults. Now I have a default tab, an English tab, and a Spanish tab. So I'm going to click my email so you can see. So my default it's in another language. My English is in English, and my Espanol is in Espanol. So you could have default as being an English notice. It depends on your library and what your needs are for your patrons. Once you have this set up, now you have the ability to tell Koha what type of notice, in what language your patrons are going to get it. So I'm going to go over to my patrons account. So I've set this up. And I think I go to my account. I owe lots of money, just so you know. And now over here in my details page, in library use, I have preferred language for notices. So I can edit that and tell Koha what the preferred language is for notices. So I can choose English, I can choose Spanish, or I can choose the default. So this is really a huge advantage if you wanted to be able to create notices in another language and also tell Koha what patrons would like those notices in that language. So this is pretty cool. Okay. My last feature for technical services is also in our notices. And this is if you are part of a multi-branch system who has different overdue notices per branch. So if you allowed your patrons to check out items from different branches, but maybe the overdue rules, fines, restrictions were different per branch, prior to the 1705 release, the patron, if they check something out from the main branch and they check something out from the south branch and they had overdues, they would get 2 email overdues. Both email overdues would show both items, from the one from the main branch and one from the south branch. Now, the patron will get 2 notices. However, the main branch overdue notice will be using the main branch verbiage that you've set out, and the overdue notice will come from the south branch with using the verbiage set out. If you're part of a multi-branch system and you don't use different overdue notices, this will not apply to you. It's just a matter of getting those different notices sent correctly. So as you can see, I have multiple branches in my system, and I have dedicated overdue notices at the south branch. So if I had a patron check something out from the south branch and the main branch with 1705, they will get that specific south branch notice only showing the items from the south branch, and they will get a specific overdue notice from the main branch only showing the items from the main branch. It's kind of more, complicated really, you can't really show this. I can just kind of explain it. And, but if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and I'd be happy to give you some more information or send you over the bug information. But it really has to do with if you set aside different notices, overdue notices per branch, this would come into play. I see an email from Linda. Yeah, I will email you, Linda. I'll look at your system. Linda wanted to know how hers was set up at her branch, so I can definitely do that for you. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, those are all the enhancements and features I wanted to share with you today, and we definitely have some time for questions. If anyone's had some questions, Margaret, I'd be happy to help.
Great. We do have a question that came in around upgrades from Tam. Mm-hmm. If the upgrade schedule falls within our exam periods / crunch weeks, can we still be able to request to push the upgrade to a later date as not to cause disruption to our patrons during the time that they need the OPAC the most?
Tam, I can certainly ask and get back to you about that. I'm not sure how flexible, but I'd be happy to ask, and it's definitely a question we'll find out for you. Anything else, Margaret?
Not yet, so please submit your questions. I think I see a few question marks populating the chat now.
Okay. I have a question from Linda. Is it safe to assume that not much has changed with cataloging and staging MARC records? That is correct. I covered everything that had to do with the technical services side, so cataloging, serials, acquisitions, and there weren't a lot of changes with those. So yeah, you'll be fine, Linda, going with 1705. Beth. This is a question from Beth. Hi, Beth from Taft. I might need a later start to the upgrade, 10 versus 8 p.m. Okay, Beth, I'll ask Melissa and see if that's possible. Great, hi. Have you guys? Yeah, go ahead.
I believe you mentioned you were going to show how to turn on the open OPAC in a new window.
Oh, feature? Yeah, we had people ask, right? Okay, let me remember the system preference. I'm going to go to... Okay, let's go to, I think it would be... This system preference will allow you to go ahead and put the link. Okay, so here. I think it's this. To put the link in, might be that one. I think it's this one. But let me just double check. Not that one. OPAC base URL. Yeah, this is, I mean, I'm glad I mentioned it because I think it's something that is so helpful for the staff to be able to look at it, what it looks like on the other side when you're looking at cataloging, or it's not that system preference, or you're just want to see what the patron is looking at. This is a great feature. Staff side. While I think about this, always at the moment that I know it. While I look, Margaret, are there any other questions? I hope I've really been really thorough with what I was able to share today.
You seem to have been. I do see that Kathy is also asking about a later upgrade start time, so I've logged that.
Okay.
And we'll follow up later.
I'm going to put it in channel and see if anyone knows. It's got to be searching. There's only about 900 system preferences. You just have to find that keyword that's going to make it work. Staff side. But remember to come back to the, no, staff client is located, nope. Come back to our website and make sure you attend any other webinars or see any of the questions and answers that are listed there. If anyone has this question of what this system preference is, I can definitely get to. Just put your name in the chat. I don't want to hold anybody up, but I think that it's really useful. It really is. So is there any other questions or anything anyone else is excited to see? They've been to other webinars? No, it's got to be staff. No, it's not. Nothing has changed with reports either, has it? Linda, we're going to do reports and administration, so that's going to be tomorrow. There is some changes with reports. So thanks, Janine. I'll get back to you on that. So yes, come tomorrow or watch the recorded version. But yes, there is at least one change that I can think of off the top of my head that has to do with reports. And I can also email you if you're not going to be able to watch that, Linda. But yes, good question. I'm writing Janine's name down. It's not that one. Tools. Administration. Circulation. Searching. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to get back to you. No one in channel knows either. Okay, but I'm not the administrator. Email is good. Okay, Linda, I'll email you. We'll have your email from your registration. Well, thank you everyone for coming. I will have that question put in the Bywater website so you have the answer. Once I go through all these system preferences, it will come to me after we get off the chat what it is. But I appreciate everyone coming and everyone listening. And please, I encourage you to come to more of these and get excited for 1705. Thank you.